On Saturday the 8th of March, the Patricia Campbell Socialist Republican Forum convened a meeting in Conway Mill in Belfast to highlight the problems and horrendous conditions experienced by Palestinian prisoners held by the Zionist regime. The meeting was supported by Palestinian Aid and Free Palestinian Movement. The meeting was chaired by Patricia Campbell, and here she records a report of the meeting along with excerpts from speeches delivered by our guest speakers Saib Siat and Anla O'Caroline. So please listen. Thank you.
The Peadar O'Donnell Socialist Republican Forum held another very successful and well-attended conference in support of Palestinian prisoners in Conway Mill in Belfast last weekend, February the 8th. The meeting was chaired by myself, Patricia Campbell. The main speaker was Gaza-born Dr. Saib Siat, who is a Middle Eastern political expert, author and international activist. His heartfelt telling of the horrors of the genocide against the Palestinian people, but especially the horrific torturing of Palestinian political prisoners, was traumatic listening.
Moving forward, when you see how the prisoners' movement galvanized the Palestinian resistance in the First Intifada, you move them to what after the Palestinian First Intifada. You can see what happened in Lebanon. The Lebanese kicked in the year 2000 the Israeli occupation from Lebanon. Moving forward, the Palestinians in 2005 in Gaza, they cleared Gaza from the settlers and from the occupation. But the Israelis, when they ran out, they imposed the blockade around Gaza from 2006 onwards. And this is, they turned Gaza into like a concentration camp. The freedom fighters liberated it, defeated them, but they used the power of Air Force, the power of the Navy, the power of intimidation, controlling the food, the water, even the air.
A powerful talk was delivered by Anla O'Caroline, who is from Belfast and who runs a community gym in a refugee camp in Bethlehem, Palestine. Anla talked about his experience while living in the West Bank and how aware Palestinians are of the Irish struggle and historical struggles and hunger strikes by Irish political prisoners. He emphasised that Palestinian political prisoners must be kept to the top of the agenda as the most important topic.
Like many people who have been to Palestine from this part of the country or from Ireland in general, but particularly from the 620s, the thing that kind of brought me there in the first place was an interest in seeing what was going on there, and also I'm sure an experience that is shared with other people who have gone to Palestine from Belfast, that you start to see certain things that we've got in common with Palestinians on a very basic level, just in terms of the infrastructure, the jeeps, even like the regiments of the Israeli army are based on the regiments of the British army. The first day I was in Hebron, 2018, there happened to be a patrol of soldiers coming down the street who had maroon berets on, and our tour guide was very surprised when I asked him was that the parachute regiment. And there's many other shared kind of experiences But if we're talking specifically about the prison struggle, as many of us in this room are already aware, the strategies and the tactics and the tools that are being used against Palestinians in Palestine now were refined here as part of the British imperialist laboratory, and there are people in this room who have got first-hand experience of those kind of experiments. And in terms of the prison struggle, there are things that the Israeli authorities have used against prisoners that no doubt they have learned from the British experience here, in terms of torture, in terms of arrest without trial, as we call it here, internment, and as they call it over there, administrative detention. There are also, in terms of getting withdrawn all of the rights that even prisoners have got in there. And it's not only, I would say, that the Israeli authorities have learned from their British comrades on this side of the world, but I would say that the Palestinian prisoners have certainly learned a lot from the prison struggle here in Ireland. If we're talking about the Ida camp where I work, primarily there were 61 people from the camp. It's got a population of about 5,000 people. 61 people have been imprisoned, or have been serving long sentences or imprisoned, as well as, like, over the course of the last 15 months, as well as the ones who are already in prison. There are 29 of those left. There were 2 women, 1 child, and 5 people serving life sentences released as part of the ceasefire so far, and currently there are still 2 people who are serving life sentences and 1 person serving very long sentences. But there's a few of the people who have come out of jail over the last number of years from the camp that I got to know very well, and especially for those who were in prison in the aftermath of the Second Intifada, everyone comes out saying that they learned of the prison struggle here in the north, and in particular from the hunger strikers. There are many people who will come out of Palestinian prison, will know the names of the hunger strikers, will even know how long each striker lasted. And the hunger strike has been one tool that's been widely used in Palestine. I would say some valuable lessons were taken from here. And I would say that the biggest thing that we have in common in terms of our shared struggle is that as the British government tried to use the prison system here as a breaking ground for the resistance, the same thing is happening in Palestine. So if we're going to talk about solidarity for Palestine, and specifically here we're talking about prisoners, for me, like, the prison struggle epitomizes everything about the Palestinian struggle in general. So the prisoners' issue should be really at the top of any movement for solidarity when it comes to Palestine.
Francis McGuigan, who is one of what is known as the 14 hooded men, taken to a detention centre here in 1971, where they were tortured by British Crown forces. Francis was scheduled to speak. Unfortunately, he couldn't attend due to ill health, but his message of solidarity to the Palestinian prisoners and their families was conveyed to the conference. In a compelling intervention, Tommy McKerney, former Irish political prisoner and hunger striker, spoke in place of Francis McGuigan. He read an extract from Frederick Engels' collective works, a letter to Engels from Karl Marx that outlined the brutal torture meted out to Fenian prisoners in English jails in the 1860s. The torture of Irish political prisoners by the British and their accomplices is well and truly documented. Palestinians have offered their solidarity to us throughout the years. Therefore, it is incumbent upon us to extend our solidarity to them at this dreadful time of history. Fra Hughes, Director of Palestine Aid Ireland, and whom works tirelessly for the Palestinian cause, gave an overview of the work and aims of Palestine Aid, which is a registered charity that was established in 2011. The conference connected by Zoom to the Palestinian Prisoners Club in the West Bank. Spokesperson Mr. Al-Zahari received a rousing reception from those in Conway Mill. The plight of Palestinian prisoners and that of their families was highlighted, and the worsening situation in the West Bank. Israeli checkpoints have increased, and a journey that should only be 40 minutes from Bethlehem to Ramallah is now up to 4 hours. The final speaker was John Herson, who works tirelessly for many Palestinian causes and has been out there on several occasions. He said the Irish people have an affinity with the Palestinians. They have lived occupation and still do. And they have lived with the imprisonment of their people, and they still do today. Sadly, the Palestinians are just the latest victims of ongoing genocidal occupation and apartheid, bestowed on them by Zionists with US weapons and all the world's versions of imperialism. To conclude, it was clear from all the speakers that the genocide in Palestine is far from over, even if the military slaughtering ended completely tomorrow. The major questions are: who will and how will Gaza and now the West Bank be rebuilt physically, and somehow rebuild its people psychologically as well? Generations in Palestine have endured incredible hardship by the Israeli genocidal war of extermination. The Peter O'Donnell Socialist Republican Forum would like to thank those who attended and participated in an important discussion that brought new ideas for the way forward. It was recognised that we are prepared to come together to build a long-term campaign to end the attempts at the destruction of Palestine and its people. We will not rest until all 10,000 Palestinian political prisoners are free and a sovereign Palestinian state is established. The forum will keep you updated on progress and future organised events, and we would encourage anyone who is interested in this issue to come and join us. Gora Mila Mayagad.